Hello all, Raul Klingberg here. I thought I'd take a few moments to show you the progress on the X-Plane simulator for the Klingberg Wing Mark II. As you can see in the view here, in flight, I'm actually soaring along the cliffs of Torrey Pines. And for those of you who don't know, Torrey Pines is in Southern California near San Diego. Now, if you do know the area, you know this doesn't look much like Torrey Pines, and that's because I haven't done all the fancy photorealistic overlays in X-Plane, but they are available, and you can actually make Torrey Pines and just about anywhere else in California or the United States look just like the real deal. So Peter has done a fabulous job in configuring this simulator. It really does look just like the real thing. This is to scale. This is exact. The winglets are active. You can see a little bit of dihedral out at the tips. He's even got in the carbon fiber rods for the wingtip skids. And the cockpit arrangement is just as it's intended to be for the real thing. The pilot is suspended from the lower surface of the wing, and he's got the wheels on there, and he's got the control stick. It actually works. The pilot's arm moves, and I'm going to show you all that later. And all the controls move. It flies a lot like the models, so I'm quite happy with this end result. He even went to the trouble of getting in the beautiful winglet art that Steve created. So it really is a blast to fly this thing, and I'm sure we're going to have other versions coming out that'll have the cockpit enclosure and some other functionality. I know Peter and I have talked about connecting the landing gear retraction function to the pilot's legs, which would be kind of fun. Anyway, so there's the runway over there in the distance, and let's see if I can go up a little higher. There you can see it a little bit better there. And actually this gives you a pretty good view of the planform of the wing. You can see I got a notch of flaps out because I'm soaring along here, and because it's a simulator, you can set up the perfect wind and just soar all day long here. It's great. Here we go, we're flying along the cliffs, moving along, and you can see the controls work just like the real deal. We can put the flaps down another notch, put them back up, and I'm going to start heading around the corner here and bring it in on the runway, and I'll be back to show you some other interesting things about the configuration of the aircraft. So here we are back on the runway. I thought I'd take a moment here to show you some of the wonderful features that Peter has worked into this simulator. It's really terrific, and makes me feel like I'm flying the real thing. First thing that we should look at is the some of the cockpit area. You'll notice that the pilot is suspended in a paragliding type harness, and he is suspended from a couple of brackets on the lower surface of the wing, and this allows weight shift in flight. Now in this current simulator, the pilot doesn't actually move when you shift weight. You just go into the X-Plane program and set the CG a little bit further forward, equivalent to shifting your weight forward for high-speed penetration between thermals. Peter has this set up so that the control stick and mixer work, and I'll show you that here. We get some up elevator, and you can see the pilot's arm and wrist move correctly with the control stick, some down elevator, and right aileron and left aileron. We'll walk around to the other side and take a closer look at that here in a minute. You'll see that there's instruments on one of the uprights there. We're using a smartphone using the app XC Soar, Cross Country Soar, and it has airspeed, altitude, and climb rate. I'll show you that a little bit closer when we take a look inside the cockpit. This will give you a little look at the mixer. Most of you know that the mixer is 3 bevel gears, and the fore and aft bevel gears have control horns that push rods connect to and run up to a control system inside the wing. And then there's a gear set on the side, 90 degrees off axis, that performs the elevator function. So essentially what you have is a differential, and it's set up to the control stick to provide the motion that we need. And that mixer actually moves in flight. As you move the control stick around, the mixer does its job just like it does in real life. It's really slick. Great setup. I know that Peter put quite a bit of time into making that work. It gives you a chance to see how the mixer actually works. You'll notice that the control horns for the fore and aft gears are actually angled down slightly, and that is to provide differential on the aileron function. That you get more up elevator, or yes, correct, you get more up elevator than down elevator. Gives you more throw in that direction than that direction, so that when you do the aileron function, you get a little bit of differential. Let's see if I can back away here. We'll go around back to the other, behind the glider here. Take a look at the controls. You see that Peter was very nice and made me skinny and got my butt up high so that I can land on the wheels and not scrape my butt. In real life, it's intended that all the flights will be foot launched to foot landed. I suspect some people will modify theirs so that they have wheels to land and take off on. I suppose that's fine. They'll have to beef up the pilot's cage and add 5 pounds or so. So there's the elevator function, up and down, and there's the aileron function, right and left. And you'll see that the elevons are shaped just like I intend. On the full-size one, they have the reverse taper on them to prevent the spin from occurring. That's terrific. And we have flaps. 1, 2, 3, 4 notches of flaps all the way to 90 degrees down. 90 degrees down is best on final approach. Brings you in nice and slow and can set down like a feather. So those are handy. In real life, the flaps will be actuated with a pull cord and have bungee return on them. I suspect that's something to be built in a future version of the simulator, along with a cockpit enclosure and some other goodies. So we'll have lots of fun playing with this one, and we'll have other versions coming out. Okay, here we are. This is the standard cockpit view. This is the nominal straight ahead view, and you see the pilot's toes sticking up there. You see the vertical strut that supports the front of the pilot's cage, and the cables that rigidize the cage when it's deployed. As you know, the pilot's cage is set up on a parallelogram, so it folds up flat for transportation. You don't have to disconnect it. But there is a cable that needs to be disconnected. There's an over-center latch, and you can loosen it up and disconnect that cable to fold up the pilot's cage. So those cables provide torsional rigidity of the pilot's cage when you're ground handling. So there on the left, you see the instrument deck. We have airspeed, ground speed, altitude means sea level, altitude above the ground. So we're sitting here at 204 feet, the top of the cliffs at Torrey Pines. We're not going anywhere. So we got essentially zero airspeed and variometers on the right showing zero sync because we're sitting on the runway. And we can take a look down here. We can see our feet. Let's go over and take a little closer look at that mixer. Let's see if we can get a view of that here. And there you can see the mixer actually working, which is pretty cool. A lot of fun. And you can see how the torque tube runs that way for aileron function, and we got the elevator function there. So pretty slick. And let's see what else we might be able to see here. And you can go through these views when you're in flight, and you can take a look out along the wing, and you can watch the controls work like this. It's always fun. And you can watch your flaps come down, coming in for landing. I hear this is great fun to fly with the Oculus VR headset. I don't have the budget for that, but I'm sure some of you will. It makes it a lot easier to do approaches and so forth because all you have to do is turn your head and then you can see the runway. And it's probably more convenient than having 3 or 5 screens set up to give you the wraparound view. Just get the VR headset and take a look around that way. I've seen where they're available online for a little over $400, and I guess that's not too bad for that. So there you are. You've got the view from the cockpit, looking down at the ground, and we can take a look up at the nose. That's where the tow cable attaches when you winch out of here or when you get towed up by ultralight. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy flying this simulator. And once again, many thanks to Peter, for creating this. We're going to have lots of fun. I'm going to do some sample flights for you to show you how to get it set up and use the simulator. And then I'm going to do some demo flights. We're going to fly from Hollister over to Monterey Bay and land on the beach. And I thought maybe we'd go to Pikes Peak and do some soaring around Pikes Peak. And we'll visit some other well-known soaring landmarks and fly the glider. And if you have a mind to, you get online with your buddies. I hear tell that you can actually fly together in a group. And maybe we'll all do that someday. So in the meantime, fly safe. And given our current situation, please be safe. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye for now.